Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, President Akufo-Addo is expected to, in the coming weeks, roll out a comprehensive plan by government to tackle the country's mounting plastic crisis. A recent study valued the social and economic cost of plastic pollution at $2.5 trillion each year. Another study also estimates the cost of plastic pollution to the world's marine ecosystem at roughly $13 billion each year. Whilst previous efforts have failed to yield any concrete results, government says it is coming up with a comprehensive plan to tackle it. We'll hear from the Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah shortly. Plus, we'll have a quick discussion with officials of the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation. First, though, Komla Adum with this report looking at the problem.
This is the Awudome Cemetery area, few meters away from the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. Right by the fencing is a drain taken over by weeds. Human activities close to the drain are minimal. But as we move up the stretch, we discover a displeasing spectacle. It may look like a dead end, but it's not. It is actually a drain along this stretch. An unpleasant clatter of plastic water bottles, drink containers, remnants of disposable packs used for selling food, among many other containers, twigs that have gathered here and have essentially blocked the passageway right under this bridge to the other end. Imagine what will happen here if there is a heavy rain or a heavy downpour. All of these may spill over onto the road and essentially floods will occur. Few meters up, a top layer of algae and waterweed. The situation in front of a Royal House chapel appears different. The portion of a drain had been desilted, but the opening for the dark polluted water is blocked. Pedestrians and commuters here have to endure the foul stench wafting from the stagnant water. According to them, whenever it rains, the entire stretch gets heavily flooded.
The gutter itself has choked. Normally, free has say sometimes free carnage.
The entire area gets flooded whenever it rains. Flood waters from Kaneshi all the way down the stretch because of choked gutters.
Flood even back inside the very serious.
They say some contractors were here to cut down trees along the road to make way for some construction works.
Well, this morning, Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah made this announcement.
We'll seek to bring together public, private and civil society leaders internationally and in country to translate commitments into concrete action to curtail the plastic menace. The waste recovery platform will also be creating a physical convening space and a digital platform to facilitate partnerships and exchanges among stakeholders in Ghana's waste management value chain to promote waste recovery. The expectation of government and all stakeholders is that the GPAP and the waste recovery platform will collaborate to strengthen Ghana's waste management infrastructure, contribute to behavior change towards the reduction of plastic waste and pollution, foster sustainable partnerships, and ultimately promote the circular economy in Ghana's waste management system.
So that is the Minister for Information, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. They have here in the studio Kingsley Bequin. He's a program specialist with UNDP. Mr. Bequin, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I also have here with me Oliver Boache. He's a special advisor to the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation. Mr. Boache, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So help us understand, for those of us who are very interested in President Akufo-Addo's agenda of making Accra the cleanest city, because of course we don't want to live in filth. Help us understand this grand plan that is supposed to deal with the mounting problem of plastic waste especially.
Okay, thank you very much. The menace of plastic doesn't only relate to the uncleanliness of our environment. The plastic menace is not just in Ghana is all over the world, and the most present of it is what exists in the oceans, what we call ocean litter.
Okay.
You know, the ocean enjoins everybody in the world, all nations, and so the menace of plastic is something that the whole world is looking at, and what the president is going to talk about on the 1st of October is a grand program that the World Economic Forum has initiated to bring countries together to address the menace of plastic waste.
Do we know exactly how, because we've been trying to address this plastic waste problem for, I think, as long as I've been existing in this country. Help us. What is the plan? I mean, how different is it? And explain to us a bit so we can have a level of confidence in this plan.
Sure. First of all, when we took office about 2.5 years ago, the Honorable Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng, identified plastic waste management as one of the most pressing issues that this country was facing. And so he charged a committee to sit down and develop what we call the National Plastic Management Policy.
Okay.
When this policy was outdoored in a draft form, it received attention of almost everybody in the world because it was so comprehensive. What the World Economic Forum did was to select Ghana as one of just 2 countries in the world where this global plan, known as the Global Plastic Action Partnership, or GPAP, has been initiated so that these 2 countries will serve as models for the world, the rest of the world to emulate. I
reckon it's because of what was contained on the paper, our plan, right?
Exactly.
So do you want to tell us what is on this paper? What is there? I'll come back to you for it. Just so you give it a quick thought. So I'll come back to you. But Mr. Bekwai, how does the UNDP come in here? Is it because this is a global forum thing? Is that why you come in? Tell us.
Of course, the UNDP has been a partner to government for many years in supporting government to implement its developmental solutions. And as you mentioned, you're trying to find practical ways that we're using to deliver that.
I am.
And UNDP.
My viewers really are.
and thankfully, UNDP, through a facility from the administrator of the UNDP, is piloting an innovative solution of tackling not just plastic waste, but generally waste. Okay. And basically the components of these initiatives that we are implementing. One is looking at creating the space, the physical space that brings different stakeholders together to be able to talk about the problem, to define solutions, to test the solution. So
again,
if I'm talking about
and I say again because you know that we've been talking about this problem for, like I'm saying, we've been talking about it for so many years.
Okay.
Are we still talking?
No, not talking. Okay. It's one component of the solution.
All right. Okay.
So the idea is to try and test solutions that work. The second part of it is to create the virtual platform that allows people to be able to exchange waste, plastic waste, and to deal with it.
Okay.
So we have an
exchange
app,
the waste itself?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And be able to deal with it because we know plastic waste exists, but sometimes you do not know the volumes, the different types of plastics, where it is available for people to pick and to do different things from it.
Right.
So what this initiative does is to create the digital platform, which is the app, and also a website that allows people to know where plastic waste is, in which volumes, what type of plastic, and then the entrepreneurs or people who innovate and do so many things with it can take those plastics and deal with them. So that is one part
That's part of the plan.
Yes, exactly. And then we're also providing technical and financial support to some businesses to be able to deal with this plastic waste. So I talked about where you can find the waste, where you can deal with it, but then we are actually providing technical support and financing for entrepreneurs to be able to deal with it. And I can tell you there are so many different solutions, people who are using plastics to make concrete, to make pavements, to make blocks, and stuff, so many things that people are doing with plastic. So that is the solution that UNDP brings on board to support government to be
this
able
program.
To deliver this.
Now, I mean, every now and then we do a couple of stories that talk about how people are managing plastic waste in general, etc. But it all looks like these are checkered interventions. So this person is doing that here, this person is doing that. There isn't a real coordinated plan, it looks like. So I'm coming back to you, Mr. Boakye, about coordinating these efforts. So you see people, young people doing this, they've taken this waste here, they're doing this with that, and that's where government comes in, that's where your ministry comes in. What work really has been done at the ministry to coordinate all of these bits and pieces of effort here and there to achieve the president's, let's say, declaration or target?
That's right. You're right. Waste management, especially plastic waste management, requires a great deal of coordination. You're right that is lacking in this country. What this plastic management policy is doing is, first of all, to come up with a framework within which all these coordination activities will take place. There are 6 key objectives that we want to achieve with this policy. The first one, as you said, is cleaning of the environment. We want our environment clean. The second one is to look at waste not just as waste anymore, but to look at it as a resource that value can be added to create new products, and to make sure that we are creating businesses and jobs out of the process. The third thing is to create a concept that we call a circular economy. You know, the way products are designed now, including plastic products, they are designed to be used and discarded, and when it is done, it becomes waste. If we are in the circular economy environment, the design will be such that after its use, it becomes recyclable so that it can be turned into a new product instead of it just going into the landfill. So one of the objectives is to create a circular economy ecosystem in the country.
Okay.
You know, the fourth one is to create what we call business models. You know, throughout the value chain, the manufacturing, the distribution, the usage, the disposal, collection, and recycling. Throughout that value chain, there are so many different activities that are taking place. Some of them are, you know, what you are talking about now, that these activities are taking place and there's no coordination. We want to encourage as many people as possible to participate within that value chain. And what we are going to do is to create the legal and regulatory framework in which the coordination will take place. Who is doing what will be determined, permitting will be determined, and also ensure that we have a sustainable way creating resources, money, to be able to continue to manage it.
That hasn't been done? I would have assumed that has been done already.
That is what we are going to adore on October 1st.
October 1st. Okay. Is banning plastic a part of this plan?
Definitely. There are some categories of plastics that need to be banned. These are what we call the single-use plastics. You make one use of them and you have to discard them. Those are not useful to us, and what they do is create waste that clogs our drainage systems and so on and so forth.
Is there a plan to a plan for an alternative? Because we've tried this, we flirted with this idea before, it didn't really work. And every Wednesday, and we'll be doing that today, we cross over to Germany with our partners DW, and we talk to them about what they're doing. Last week, I think last 2 weeks, they talked about banning plastics there. It's a huge conversation that they're having. Now, this is one of the wealthiest countries in Europe, and they're thinking about it. I don't even want to go to the Rwanda example because it's already a cliche right now. Right. But are we able to find alternatives that makes it easy for us to roll out a plan, this plan? Because we know how to put a lot of things on paper in this country, and that's what was said, but the implementation is always a problem.
You see, this circular economic concept that I mentioned, these are the issues it deals with. First, we are going to try and reduce the usage of plastics. That's so reduce. It's the first R.
Okay.
Replace, that is replacing plastic with alternatives that will provide you the same value, but which you will not have to discard to create waste. So instead of plastics, we might be using cotton and other things to to shop and other things.
I am hopeful that this will be in the plan and that there will be an alternative for us to roll it out. Unfortunately, we run out of time. I'll come to you for final words, Mr. Bekoin. What are your for the UNDP? I know agencies work with government. Most of the time, we see how it looks like governments isn't doing much, or our government agencies aren't doing much until they get the push from the UNDP. I mean, that's a fact we have to deal with. We may debate that later, but but I just want to find out what is the target, what are the timelines that the UNDP is looking for, and to what extent will you be able to hold government agencies accountable to rolling this out?
Maybe not answer the question directly in terms of holding government accountable, because of course, we work with government partners. I think the most important thing, or the useful thing to note here, is that the platform and the app and the website I mentioned is going to go live on 1st October.
Okay.
That is when we're hoping to launch this platform. So once we're able to launch it, everybody that is in the value chain, as Mr. Boachi spoke about, can go onto that platform, can go onto the app, and will be able to find where plastics are, in which volumes, and then they will be able to turn it into something useful, create some businesses
Very
out
well.
of that.
Please, let's make this work for posterity and for ourselves. I'll be having this conversation with Mr. Oliver Boachi. He's a special advisor to the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and also Kingsley Bekoin. He's a program specialist with the UNDP. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. So 1st of October, look forward to President Akufo-Addo announcing that plan, and we will be here to scrutinize that plan, find out if it works for us, whether it works or not, because we really need an intervention that works to rid us of the filth.